Good evening. You're watching the main news on HOY International Business Channel. I'm Maisy Mok. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. 4 workers are injured, 2 seriously, after being hit by falling metal bars in Yau Ma Tei. Doctors in Gaza appeal for help as Israeli airstrikes near hospitals put patients at risk. And Motorsports return to Hong Kong, but a race in Central is delayed because of construction glitches. 4 construction workers have been injured in Yau Ma Tei after being hit by falling metal bars. 2 men were seriously hurt, and one of them underwent surgery. Firefighters lifted 4 workers who were injured when metal bars fell on them as they worked in a 10-meter deep site in Yau Ma Tei this afternoon. All the men were conscious when they were taken to hospital, where 2 were admitted in serious condition. The accident happened when a crane's cable snapped. 20 metal bars weighing 1.5 tons plunged to the ground. 2 workers were hit on the head and 2 others suffered leg injuries. The accident happened at the junction of Kansu and Ferry Streets. The work is part of the government's Central Kowloon Route project involving the building of a carriageway to Yau Ma Tei and the Kai Tak development area. Police classified the case as an industrial accident. Fei Siu, who heads the Association for the Rights of Industrial Accident Victims, met family members of the 2 seriously injured workers. Speaking outside Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Siu said she felt heartbroken and frustrated at the spate of construction accidents. Since January, there were at least 9 accidents involving cranes, with 6 workers killed. Siu urged the government and the construction sector to do more to protect workers. Just yesterday, a construction worker died when an iron bar fell on his head in Tongcheng. Parents of students in Rosary Hill Secondary School have visited another institution which their children may attend when their current school closes. The parents and students have only days to make a decision. Janice Yu reports.
Parents and students have been expressing concerns since Rosary Hill Secondary School announced in September that it will close from the 2025-26 academic year. The school on Stubbs Road will not be accepting new students from next year as enrollments fall. Students may choose to transfer to the Yu Chen Kung Memorial College No. 2 in Pok Fu Lam next year. Their parents were taken to the school this morning for an inspection.
The school seems to be okay. I think for Rosarians, I think they can consider YC2K for the new school. I think this school compared to Rosary, I think this one is a bit more better than Rosary, facility-wise. As soon as Rosary shut down, then my kids will shift here. Yeah, I think everything's okay.
Parents were told that the transfer to the Pok Fu Lam school will go ahead only if more than half of the current 400 Rosary Hill students agree with the switch. If they disagree, Forms 4 and 5 students will stay in Rosary Hill until they graduate, while lower secondary students will have to find other schools on their own. They have to make their choices by the middle of this month. Janice Yu, Cable News.
Labor Chief Chris Sun says although many applicants for the Top Talent Pass scheme are mainlanders, they are graduates of top universities overseas. He also explained why the government has only spent less than 1% of its budget to build welfare facilities.
內地當然係佔好大數目㗎啦。
Labor Secretary Chris Sun says mainlanders make up a large number of applicants for the Top Talent Pass scheme, which aims to attract graduates from the world's top universities. He was asked whether the lack of diversity could lead to public concerns. Sun responded by focusing on where the applicants resided.
around 20% when they make the application, they stayed in overseas territories. Those who are either fresh graduates or with less than 3 years of work experience. Around 40% they stayed overseas. So this is by itself a clear indication of the attraction of the Top Talent Pass scheme to those with overseas education experience and qualification.
Sun refused to reveal the number of applicants by country. He was also asked about his statement yesterday that the government earmarked $20 billion in 2019 to purchase properties to set up welfare facilities, but only spent $150 million so far. He said the government wants to make the best use of public funds and considers various factors before spending the money. For instance, a nursery would not be opened near massage parlors and entertainment facilities, while the premises must have adequate fire safety facilities. The government aims to purchase 60 properties, but only 4 have been bought, with negotiations going on for 8 others. Overseas, Israel has been accused of launching a war on overcrowded hospitals in Gaza City, with attacks near the health centers endangering thousands of patients and displaced Palestinians.
Last week, WHO documented 5 attacks on 5 hospitals in one day. In the past 48 hours alone, 4 hospitals have been put out of action. Half of the Gaza Strip's 36 hospitals and 2/3 of its primary healthcare centers are not functioning at all. Those that are functioning are operating way beyond their capacities. The health system is on its knees.
As Israel continued its offensive against Hamas, the World Health Organization warned that hospitals in the besieged Gaza Strip are running out of medicines. Doctors are operating without anesthetics, and the lack of food and water is taking a heavy toll, especially on children. Israel has accused Hamas of hiding weapons in hospitals, but the Palestinian group rejected the allegation.
Shifa Hospital now are collapsing totally. There is hundreds of killed people around the hospital. There is a lot of dead bodies inside the hospital. Water now is not available. Electricity as well is not available. This is a call for a human community. This should stop now.
The Palestinian death toll in the Israeli offensive has risen to over 11,000, prompting calls from around the globe for a halt in the hostilities. French President Emmanuel Macron told Israel to stop killing babies, women, and elderly Palestinians, saying the bombings were not justified. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said far too many Palestinians have been killed. Blinken and Macron both condemned Hamas for the attack that left several hundred people dead in southern Israel last month. As thousands more Palestinians left their ruined homes and trekked to southern Gaza, Arab and Muslim leaders gathered for an emergency summit in Riyadh. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, meanwhile, urged the world to condemn Hamas and not his country, but a senior Palestinian diplomat hit back.
They want us out of our country, out of our land. Their strategic enemy is the independence of our state, the freedom of our people. The only options they have ever given us: submit, leave or die, or in international legal terms, apartheid, ethnic cleansing, or genocide.
A leading human rights group has accused the West of double standards over the handling of the war in Ukraine and the crisis in Gaza.
We are witnessing the Western Bloc demanding that we all rush to the defense of Ukraine, as we should, because Ukraine has been aggressed by Russia and there are unbelievable suffering in Ukraine, and at the same time telling us not to act on the multiple bombing and absolute suffering of the people of Gaza. The double standard of those governments, to me, are the bigger threat to human rights right now.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says Washington and Beijing still disagree on many issues, but their differences narrowed following her talks with Vice Premier He Lifeng.
We agreed to intensify communication, including continuing a regular cadence of contact between me and the Vice Premier. Second, we committed to work together on global challenges, from debt issues to climate change-related economic issues. And third, both countries jointly stated that we welcome the objective of a healthy economic relationship that provides a level playing field for companies and workers in both countries and benefits the two peoples.
Yellen and He held 2 days of talks in San Francisco ahead of President Xi Jinping's arrival in the Californian city for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. Xi will meet his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden on Wednesday. Their previous meeting was at the G20 summit in the Indonesian resort of Bali last year. Hong Kong's first motorsport event since COVID roared off later than scheduled because of construction delays. Fans were disappointed at first, but were later delighted to see some high-speed action at the World Rallycross Championships in Central. Sachin Katvi reports.
Unforeseen construction delays forced the organizers to push back the start time of the World Rallycross Championship, or World RX, at the Central Harbour Front. The decision was made last night, but many people were not aware of the change and turned up at the scheduled start time of 8:10 a.m. The gates finally opened at 10:30 a.m. and ticket holders were let inside after a security check. Due to work delays, the length of the track was shortened from 1,200 meters to 800 meters. The first qualifying race began shortly after noon. 6 drivers qualified for the final tomorrow after 3 heats and 2 semi-finals. Kevin Hansen of Sweden, who was on pole position, stormed through after the lights went green and held the lead on the first bend. Hot on his heels in the 5-lap race was reigning world champion and compatriot Johan Kristoffersen. He failed to finish due to car trouble. Hansen took the checkered flag ahead of Nicholas Gronholm of Finland. Germany's Timo Scheider was third.
Congratulations once again, Kevin Hansen.
Tomorrow's races will go ahead as originally planned. Sachin Katvi, Cable News.
In golf, Australian Cameron Smith moved up the leaderboard to share the lead on Day 3 of the Hong Kong Open with Phachara Kongwatmai of Thailand. Firing 6 birdies in Fanland today, Smith carded a 5-under par 65 going into the final round tomorrow. He was the sole leader for a while after a birdie on the 15th, but the overnight leader, Phachara, caught up with Smith, finishing the day on 4 under for a tie at 16 under overall. Ben Campbell of New Zealand is third at 15 under. Afghanistan's fairy tale run at the Cricket World Cup in India has ended. Playing in their last group match, the Asian Minnows needed to beat South Africa by a substantial margin to reach the last 4. Afghanistan began solidly, but their middle order collapsed, reducing them to 116 for 6. Their tail enders fought back before being bowled out for 244. South Africa, who have already qualified for the semi-finals, made 247 and won by 5 wickets. On to the weather now. Cloudy with some rain tomorrow. The temperature will range from 21 to 25 degrees Celsius, with the mercury dropping early in the work week. That's our main news for Saturday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Maisy Mok. Thanks for watching. Good night.